So Donald Trump appears to be holding a huge lead in several states heading into Super Tuesday today. But as he picks up steam, it may be down the road here that he will have to face a new challenge. Here is Bill O'Reilly on this topic last night.
If Trump is actually the Republican nominee, we can expect a media assault on him that will be unprecedented in America. The GOP madness is, of course, good news for Hillary Clinton, who has major problems of her own, but who the American press will get behind. So the question becomes, can Donald Trump bring in millions of new voters to overcome his deficit among the press, minorities, and other groups that don't like him?
Eric Trump is the son of presidential candidate Donald Trump, of course. He's also executive vice president of the Trump Organization and founder of the Eric Trump Foundation. Good to see you this morning,
Martha.
Eric.
It's great being here.
So it looks like it'll be a very strong night by all indications for your dad. And as you can see, you can kind of feel that spinning forward now as you start to look at it. And some people feel like, you know, although this has been a pretty rough go in this nomination process in terms of the language and the back and forth, that it could be even more brutal as you head into the general election. What do you think about that?
Well, listen, my father's the toughest guy I know. He's also my best friend. I love him to death, and I'm proud of him, honestly, as we go in tonight. I mean, I think we're expected to win. I'm superstitious, so knock on wood, but, you know, I'm proud of him. He's really doing great. And then we obviously have to take on Hillary, and I think he'll do a great job. She's got her own problems. There's no question about that. I mean, you see the emails that keep on coming out. I mean, she's definitely got her own problems, and I think he'll do great. And you see the amount of Democrats and you see the amount of independents that are converting over. In fact, in Massachusetts, there was a great story yesterday that you've had about 30,000 Democrats and independents who converted over to the Republican Party just to vote for my father in that race. And so you're seeing an amazing movement. I mean, you're really seeing an amazing movement. And people want somebody who will take great care of this country fiscally and from a military perspective and that has backbone. And, you know, that's who my father is.
I think the Massachusetts story that you cite is so significant. And we may be witnessing sort of a realignment of what makes a Republican in this country. And that's something that people are going to be talking about a lot, I think, over the course of this election. And it's clear that the Clinton camp is starting to get nervous about Donald Trump. And we're starting to get the elements of what a fight against her is going to look like. And here she is on the trail this week, kind of giving us some indications of what it might look like.
So when you have a leading candidate for president on the Republican side who insults everybody, including Muslims, that makes the job a little harder. It's not only offensive, it's dangerous. It matters what you say when you run for president, and it really matters if you are president.
You know, I see that clip, and one of the things that comes to mind is actually the endorsement we got yesterday. The guys from Benghazi came out and they endorsed my father, saying that we need somebody with spine in this country. I mean, we need somebody who will stand up and not leave us for dead over in a foreign country. And I watched that clip, and it's really amazing. But what I will say is, you watched South Carolina the other night when the Democrats went in, and they had dismal turnout. All right, you watched Nevada the other day, you know, when we won, and you had record turnout. I mean, they've never seen turnout like that. In fact, my father had more votes for him than they had for all turnout in the previous election 4 years earlier. And so you have such excitement on the GOP side. You have such a lack of excitement on the Democratic side, and, you know, that's really caused by my father. I mean, people are excited to get behind a business guy, a guy who, you know, can fix this country, and I think there's major trust issues when it comes to Hillary, and, you know, I think we're going to do amazing against her. I mean, we've had so many head-to-head polls with her. We're doing amazing, and he's going to do incredible against Hillary, and as I said before, she really has her own problems.
We were just watching some of the voters in Virginia, and they were talking about how crass and crude this whole thing has become, and that they were disturbed by that. And you know, your dad has said several times that he will become more presidential in demeanor. When do you think we'll see that happen? And do you think that any part of that is alienating some people who might be ready to come over, but then every time they might be ready to come over, they sort of hear him say something and they go, what is that about?
No, because my father's not the politically correct candidate, right? I mean, starting at the first question of the first debate, you know, the famous question, right? He said, listen, I'm not the politically correct candidate. I mean, he got that out of the box, but you know, again, he's an amazing guy. He's truly an amazing guy. Politics is ugly. And people, by the way, people warned us. I'm not a political guy at all. It's not what I aspire to be. But people always warned us that politics, you know, was ugly and it was going to be tough. And you've seen some of the attacks against my father. I mean, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars in negative ads against my father because they do not want to see him there. All the while, he's self-funding his own campaign. And that really says a lot about a man's character. I mean, He's leaving his company, which means everything to him, right? He's self-funding his campaign. He's been immensely successful. He's taking bullets from every angle, you know, to do something great for this country, to fix this country, to make America great again. And he'll do such a great job at that. I mean, he cares immensely about our nation, and he'll do an amazing job for this.
Well, I mean, his story's been remarkable, to be sure. Since last summer when he announced, he has turned everyone's expectations on their head, which has been fascinating to watch. You mentioned the fact that he is self-funded. Going into the general, $1 billion is probably needed to run the general election. So will he have a super PAC, and will he start fundraising, and how does that change the dynamic once he starts taking money from people who are his supporters?
Yeah, well, it's really a question to ask him. I don't know. We were not really looking forward to, we take, problem, we deal with it at the time, and, our focus right now is to obviously win this one, and then we'll move on to the general election. But, yeah, make no mistake about it, she's going to raise a lot of money. She's going to raise a lot of money, and, we'll use money. But at the end of the day, it's kind of amazing. My father's spent the least amount of money, and in every poll, he's winning nationally by 33%, right? I mean,
the whole model.
That's how this government needs to run. Our government needs to run the same way. We should spend the least amount of money and get the best result, and I think that's what he'll do in Washington.
Eric, thank you very much.
Thank you, Martha. It's
Good
great
to
being
see
with you
again.
as always.
You too.